What if the strongest town was the one that chose soft voices instead of shouting? Imagine a small town just as the sun begins to warm the streets. Windows slide open, not with a bang, but a soft creak. People step out, greeting each other with quiet smiles and gentle nods, their voices carrying no further than the person they're speaking to. In this little town, a peculiar and wonderful tradition took root long ago. They had a rule, unspoken but deeply understood: no shouting. Even when frustration bubbled up or anger tried to take hold, they made a conscious choice to keep their voices low. It wasn't about suppressing feelings. It was about honoring them and each other with respect. This simple pact had transformed their community in ways no one could have initially predicted. It was a social experiment that became a way of life, a testament to the idea that true strength doesn't need to be loud. Life in this town moved at a different rhythm. As the day began, shop doors would open with the quiet chime of a bell and a gentle "Good morning. How are you today?" There was no hurried clamor, no raised voices over the counter. Children, from a very young age, weren't told to be quiet. Instead, they were taught a simple, powerful tool: take a breath before you speak. In the schoolyard, if a disagreement arose over a game, you'd see two small figures, one saying to the other, "I feel upset because ... double quotes, instead of just yelling. Even arguments between adults, which are inevitable in any community, had a different starting point. They wouldn't begin with accusations thrown across a room. Instead, they would start with a question, a humble invitation. "Can we talk about this?" It was an acknowledgement that a problem existed, but it framed the conversation as a shared journey toward a solution, not a battle to be won. This practice of calm communication wasn't just a rule. It was a skill, practiced daily, that wove a fabric of mutual respect throughout the entire town. It created an atmosphere where listening was just as important, if not more so, than speaking. Visitors, when they first arrived, often found this quietude unsettling. They came from a world of blaring car horns, of voices competing to be the loudest, of conversations that were more like verbal wrestling matches. In their world, strength was equated with volume, and speed was mistaken for efficiency. A fast reply, a sharp comeback, a decisive, loud opinion, these were seen as signs of confidence and intelligence. Here, they were met with pauses. They would ask a question, and instead of an immediate reactive answer, they would receive a moment of thoughtful silence, followed by a considered response. A driver who accidentally cut someone off would receive a patient wave, not an angry gesture. At first, they mistook this gentleness for weakness, this slowness for indecisiveness. They'd whisper among themselves, "Don't these people have any passion? Don't they ever get angry?" It took them a while to understand that the passion was there, but it was channeled into understanding rather than overpowering. The quietness wasn't an absence of feeling. It was a space created for feelings to be heard properly and fully, without the distortion of noise. Then, one day, a storm of a different kind gathered over the town. A serious problem arrived, one that couldn't be solved with a quiet greeting or a patient wave. A major mistake had been made at the local factory, the town's largest employer. It was a costly error, one that threatened jobs and put a heavy cloud of financial worry over nearly every household. Fear, cold and sharp, began to creep into people's hearts. This was the kind of crisis that, in any other place, would have ignited a firestorm of blame. Accusations would have flown. Managers would have been shouted at in the street. Workers would have yelled at their unions. Families would have argued behind closed doors, the stress spilling out in loud, hurtful words. The usual script for disaster was written with anger and panic. But this town had a different way. The test of their quiet strength had truly begun. Instead of devolving into chaos, shouting matches, and finger-pointing, the town did something remarkable. The mayor called a meeting in the central square, not with an alarm, but with a simple invitation posted in every shop window. And the people came. They gathered not as an angry mob, but as a concerned family. There was no grandstand, no microphone to amplify one voice over others. People stood together, and one by one, they spoke. They shared their fears, their worries, their anger, but their voices remained steady. They spoke slowly, ensuring everyone could hear, but more importantly, ensuring everyone could listen. And listen they did. They listened to the factory manager explain the mistake, not with gears, but with focused attention. They listened to workers' voice, their anxieties about their mortgages and their children's futures. They didn't interrupt. They didn't attack. They simply absorbed the reality of the situation together, creating a shared understanding of the challenge they all faced. The air was thick with concern, but it was free of poison. The solutions didn't appear like magic from a single brilliant mind. They emerged slowly, organically, from the collective quiet. They came not in a grand, sweeping plan, but as a series of small, humble promises. After one person spoke of their struggle, a neighbor would pipe up, "I have a large garden. I can share vegetables." A retired accountant offered, "I can help families create a budget to get through this." The factory manager, instead of being defensive, said, "We will be transparent. We will try this solution, and if it fails, we will try another. Together, The solutions were promises. I'll help with this. I can do that. We'll try this as a team. Each promise was a single thread, but woven together, they began to form a strong safety net. The problem itself, the financial crisis, didn't vanish overnight. It would take months of hard work and sacrifice. But something else did disappear that day in the square. The fear. It was replaced by a sense of shared purpose and a quiet, unshakable solidarity. They had faced their biggest test, not by raising their voices, but by joining their hands. As the sun began to set, casting a warm, golden glow over the town, a sense of peace returned. Neighbors talked calmly on their doorsteps, not with the frantic energy of a crisis survived, but with the steady calm of a community reaffirmed. The sound of children's laughter, light and free, echoed in the background. It was a beautiful, powerful symphony of ordinary life. Soft voices are not weak. They carry the weight of patience and the courage to listen. They are strong enough to stay kind, even when life is hard. They are the bedrock of a community that knows its true power lies not in how loudly it can shout, but in how deeply it can connect. Thanks for watching our story. If you're looking to improve your English in a relaxing and meaningful way, you're in the right place. Follow our channel for more stories that not only help you learn, but also give you something to think about. See you in the next video.